I'm not easily shaken. I've worked late shifts. I've walked home alone in the dark more times than I can count. I've even had a man try to rob me once, and I handled it better than most would have. So no, fear doesn't usually get to me. Or at least, it didn't until last November. That rainy night changed everything. It left me with scars no one can see. And to this day, I still wake up in the middle of the night, straining to hear footsteps that I pray aren't real. Because I know now, what hides in the dark isn't always a ghost. Sometimes it's worse. Sometimes it's a person. This all happened in a little rental house I lived in alone, just outside of a small town in rural Pennsylvania. The kind of town where the roads are cracked, the neighbors keep to themselves, and the only places open past 10 p.m. are the gas station and the diner I worked at. I'd been living there for about 7 months. It was quiet, cheap, and exactly what I thought I wanted after leaving a noisy apartment in the city. That night started like any other. It was a Thursday. I remember that clearly because I just finished my third back-to-back closing shift at the diner. The rain had been falling all day, cold, miserable sheets of it, slamming against the pavement and turning the air icy. My shoes were soaked. My phone was down to 12% by the time I left work, and I didn't even bother plugging it in during the drive home. I was too tired to care. When I pulled into my driveway a little after midnight, the rain was coming down in thick, sideways sheets. The kind of rain that drowns out all other sound. I sat in the car for a minute, headlights cutting through the storm, just catching my breath. The inside of the house looked completely dark through the windows. Even then, something about that darkness bothered me. I told myself it was just the weather. I grabbed my work bag, made a dash for the front door, and fumbled with the keys. My hands were numb from the cold. When I finally got the door open and stepped inside, the lights flickered. Not once, not twice. 3 times in quick succession before going steady. I remember thinking, great, power's gonna go out. The house smelled damp, like wet wood and old carpet. I kicked off my shoes and changed into dry clothes, then heated up a bowl of soup I'd brought home. That's when I noticed something strange. My bedroom window, the one facing the backyard, was open about an inch. I stopped dead in the hallway when I saw it. Now here's the thing. I am obsessive about locking windows and doors. I always double check before bed. Always. I'm not the kind of person who forgets. I just stood there staring at the gap for a full minute, trying to justify it to myself. Maybe I didn't close it all the way. Maybe the storm pushed it open. I walked over, closed it tightly, and slid the latch. Still, something about it felt wrong. I shook it off and ended up dozing off on the couch with the storm still raging outside. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to what I thought was thunder, but it wasn't. It was a dull, heavy thud. It came from the back of the house. I sat there on the couch, completely still. I muted the TV and listened. At first, all I could hear was the rain pounding on the roof, but then, beneath that, I heard it again. Thud, thud, creak, like someone walking, slowly, deliberately, on hardwood floors. I grabbed my phone, battery at 6%, and checked the time, 3:06 a.m. No missed calls, no texts, just the time glowing faintly in the storm-dark room. I stood up, heart pounding, and crept toward the hallway. Each step on the old wooden floor felt like I was announcing my presence. I reached the kitchen and flipped the switch. Nothing. Power was out. I pulled open the junk drawer and grabbed my flashlight. When I clicked it on, the beam cut across the kitchen and landed on the back door. There were handprints on the glass. I stopped breathing. The prints were smeared, muddy, wet, and large. It wasn't a child. It wasn't someone brushing up against it. These were 2 full palms pressed against the glass like someone had leaned in. I couldn't move. Every instinct in me screamed to run, to hide. I forced myself to back into the hallway, keeping the flashlight pointed at the door. But as I turned, I heard it again. Creak, thud, scratch. It was coming from inside the house. Then I remembered the crawl space. There was a small square hatch inside the hallway closet that led under the house. I'd opened it once after moving in, just to see what was down there. It was cramped, filled with insulation and old tools, and I never opened it again. I didn't want to look. Every part of me resisted it, but I had to know. I slowly opened the closet door. Cold air hit me like a slap in the face. The hatch was open, just a crack, just enough to see darkness underneath. I knelt down and shined the flashlight into the gap. At first, all I saw was dust and wood. Then I saw eyes, human eyes, not glowing, not monstrous, just watching me. The flashlight beam caught them perfectly. Two wide, unblinking eyes staring back at me from under my own house. I gasped and stumbled backward. I slammed the closet door shut and locked it. I backed away, heart hammering, mouth dry. There was a person under my house. A man. He'd been watching me. I ran to the living room and grabbed the chair, wedging it under the doorknob. I called 911. My phone showed 1% battery. 911, what's your emergency? There's someone in my house, I whispered. He's in the crawl space. The phone died. I sat in the dark, flashlight dimming, waiting for something to happen. Then I heard it. Scratch, scratch, scratch. He was moving. I held my breath as I heard the closet door creak open again. He was coming out. I didn't move. I didn't speak. The footsteps came down the hall. Slow, wet-sounding steps. Then, from the edge of the hallway, I heard a whisper. You left the window open. My blood went cold. I screamed and threw the flashlight. It shattered against the wall. I heard him grunt, then the sound of stumbling. And then, red and blue lights filled the windows. Police. They burst in seconds later, but the man was gone. They found the crawl space open, muddy prints leading out the back door. And deeper in the crawl space, tucked behind a wall of insulation, they found food wrappers, old clothes, a torn sleeping bag, a knife. He'd been living there for days, maybe longer. The window, he had opened it. That was his way in and out. The attic vent was loose too. That's how he was hearing me, watching me. I stayed with a friend for a while after that. I couldn't bring myself to go back, but the police kept me updated. A few days later, they caught him. Turns out, he was a drifter. No ID, had been arrested once before in Maryland for breaking into a woman's home and hiding in her attic. They said he liked small towns, quiet places. He called himself the Quiet Man. That's all he said when they arrested him. Just, I'm the Quiet Man. He's in a mental hospital now. They deemed him unfit to stand trial. I moved out of that house and haven't lived alone since. Even now, when it rains, I double-check every window and every lock. I don't own a crawl space anymore. I never will. Because now I know, sometimes what creeps into your home isn't supernatural. Sometimes it's just a man, waiting, listening, smiling from the dark.